We recap the year with a reversal on vampires, our favorite games of the year, and go on an adventure with Sonic's friends. I'm Ryan,
I'm Andy.
and this is Weekend Rental, episode 141. Well, did you catch the the Game Awards?
The Keeleys?
The
Yes.
Keeleys, the small child speaking about Jewish things and then being cut off awards.
Yes.
What was that?
That was really weird.
Uh-huh. They cut
That
that
was
feed quick though.
yeah. That whole time you're just sitting there like, what is that kid doing? What is that kid doing in the back there?
And why
There's a
was
kid
everyone
in the
standing
back.
next to him not just removing him from the mic?
Right.
That's the weirdest part.
Yeah, that was weird. But yeah, Elden Ring, game of the year.
I mean, I think you pretty much called that when you set it up the last time, right? It was that or
That
it was
was
going to be
my
God of War.
guess.
It just depends on how much Sony paid for Keeley to put that thing on.
Right, exactly. But at least it's a little bit more in line this year than last year, where it was like a complete like It Takes Two, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
game,
It
but
didn't make, yeah.
what?
It's weird though they didn't like throw the curveball and they're like, it's Tunic. Tunic wins game of the year.
Yeah. But you know, they kind of brushed the awards under the bus on this anyway, because it's all
Yeah.
about the new games.
And the publicity and the advertising. I will be completely honest. Other than that weird clip and like reading the highlights of what won what, I saw none of this. So this is all news to me.
Really?
Probably
Okay.
anyway.
So you haven't heard any of the new games come out or
Yeah.
announced or anything?
I mean, it's something too. I know there was something too that got announced that was significant. But I can't think of what it was. So obviously it didn't register with me.
Yeah. The thing about this is it's tough to know. I think he cut down on the bullshit a little bit this year.
There was no Bic
You
Man or
you
Manscaped
well,
Man or
there was one guy that the guy that voices Kratos, he
okay.
was up there for a good probably 10 minutes talking.
Doing what?
Nobody stopped,
About what?
just talking, just how all the people he had to thank, and he was just up there telling
Oh, so there's
stories.
no like music to like usher people off when they go
They
too long?
it came in at maybe minute 9. The music started swelling up and he was just talking over it.
They should have sent Boy out there to just like annoy the shit out of him until he got off stage.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was a little awkward. But I think he cut down because it's before he used to pack in like every new game announcement possible.
Right.
And I feel like some of them just like, oh, that looks interesting. And then you end up like, oh, that was an indie game that was released like 2 months ago, or, something that never even makes a splash, which is kind of weird.
Yes.
So I think he kind of,
Splash. That just reminded me. It was Hades too. That was the big announcement that I
yes, Hades too.
Because Hades got announced day and date at the Game Awards 2 years ago.
Yep.
Right. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by that. That company doesn't really make sequels. Bastion and all those other games that they've made, they hit it on Hades, and they're like, I guess we got to make another one.
I can kind of see it though, because like when you watch that like no clip documentary of it, it was just like so much was done to just like rush to meet that. Like, not that it's not a great game, but like we are scrambling to make this thing happen on this date. Like, I'm sure they had a lot left on the table.
Yeah.
That they were like, if we had more time, here's what we would do. So, but yeah, a sequel to a roguelike is also odd. But
that's a lot of story in that thing compared to most roguelikes.
Sure.
So I think they could probably go a long ways, but at the same time, it looks a lot the same.
Right.
It's gonna feel a lot the same, I'm sure. It's like
you're gonna add multiplayer somehow, like online competitive.
That'd be
like
cool.
Jump in, jump out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. That was, I mean, when I saw it, I was really excited about it, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I beat Zeus the one time or Hades the one time,
Right.
and I never went back for all the other stuff because it was just so much of a slog. Because it's just like you did it, now do the same thing, but harder and longer. So I don't know if it's really going to get me going on Hades 2, but if it hits Game Pass, I'm sure I'll be in it.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
probably the big one. Yeah, I'm just looking. There was the new the guy that created BioShock is making a new game. Looked very much like BioShock.
I did hear something about that. I can't imagine that he would do anything that wasn't just strange. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we've come so far in like the polished first party narrative that it's hard for me to get excited about a game told in that perspective anymore. Like, I mean, when BioShock dropped, it had that like new console, like lighting effect. Like, it played
Mhm.
well to what was available. But then I don't know. Like, I don't see it with just this generation. Like, what's going to get me pumped about this? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot more competition for that stuff too.
Right.
Um, and that dude has been, I mean, I think the last game he made was BioShock Infinite. So it's like he hasn't been doing, maybe he's had projects and they've been canceled, and which is a whole other problem, I guess. But
Yeah.
maybe he's still working on that BioShock Vita game that was supposed to come out.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably
Yeah,
still coming.
yeah. A weird Bayonetta,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
indie game looking thing.
I did
That was
see
weird.
this. What is that about?
I don't know.
It looked absolutely nothing like the action game it's inspired by.
No.
I felt like that was just more to get attention on the fact that they released a Bayonetta product recently that maybe you forgot about already. So
Yeah. That's a classic reskin this game to, include a property so it sells more.
yeah, that very well be. Yeah,
Celeste has a new sequel. I didn't care about the first one.
I played Super Meat Boy. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Death Stranding has a sequel, which of
Yeah, that
course,
one. Why?
old Norman Reedus.
Did you listen to the last Fire Escape, the game of the year?
I haven't, no.
I can't remember what the category was, but it was like something about like most like overblown bullshit we heard this year. And then as a joke, they started reading Mike's review of Death Stranding. and then they threw it in as an audible for like the category that year, like Mike Mahardy's review of Death Stranding first read to us in 2022. And they threw it in. They had a fourth person as judge, and that won the category. And Mike was just pissed. It was so funny.
Yeah, that one
So
was like
funny.
really pretentious, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so yeah, it was super pretentious. And even like yeah. Yeah, they were just like, if I didn't know you, I'd hate you. Yeah, I can't why Death Stranding needed more is beyond me, because like I mean, I'm not delusional, right? Like that didn't do well enough to justify a sequel, and it probably did pretty well because people were curious, but people now know that it's not going to be Metal Gear with babies,
Yeah.
right?
There was kind of a Metal Gear on the trailer. He has a Metal Gear in there.
Does he really?
It's kind of a Metal Gear.
Was there a billboard for the new Walking Dead spinoff starring Norman Reedus? That
No,
one I don't understand. Like, who's giving him money on that?
Sony. They're going all in because they're doing a movie about it now too. It's like okay, whatever.
Wow. All right.
Someday I'll maybe get back to playing that game. I
need
like
to
the
buy
idea.
it,
I
like
just don't know.
It should be on something that I can play for free at this point.
Yeah.
I'm mad that it's not. Free sounds about the right amount for me to check that out.
Yep. They had a new clip for the Mario movie. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't because I just don't know if I care. Was it a lot
It
of talking with not Mario voice?
it was, yeah. There's a lot of toads, a lot of toad talking.
Okay.
Which is it wasn't the shrill toad that we're used to,
Okay.
but there's a lot of background stuff. They kind of walk through the Mushroom Kingdom like town. So there's a lot of toads and running businesses and stuff, and there's some pretty good, decent jokes. And
Yeah. I don't know how excited I am about that thing. It wavers for me.
yeah, I'll go to it, but
Yeah, well, of course. Naturally.
yeah. What else? They did Final Fantasy 16 looks kind of good, but I don't know. We'll see. And they ended it on Armored Core 6, and everybody lost their goddamn mind. And it's like,
Was it
please,
5 people in that room remembered Armored Core?
right, exactly.
And
And they're like,
it
"Oh, it's
peaked on
from
like
software
PlayStation.
because it's from software." It's like, yeah, it is from software, but they're not going to make
Dude,
Elden Ring with robots. It's going to be another Armored Core.
yeah, I mean Armored Core is great for what it is, which is a not user friendly, brutal ass like mech game. Like it's always been technically impressive and fun if you can make yourself get around the fact that the game hates you for trying to understand it. But like, yeah, that doesn't if this was 2003, maybe I'd be excited, but who needs more
It
Armored Core
the
now?
graphics and the art looks really good in it. I'll
Which is
give it that.
surprising because like they've always I feel like they always sacrifice graphics in those games for like just the ability to like slap blocks on top of stuff. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
visual
that's true.
fidelity wasn't the point.
Yeah.
Interesting though.
Yeah, it is kind of weird how like From Software used to be just kind of like a yeah, and they're making another Armored Core. Those people over there in the corner, they're doing these game series, and now it's just like just because they have these Souls games that everything else they do, it's just
It's gonna be brutal. I can't imagine. I mean, Armored Core was already brutal. I can't imagine. I mean, whatever. I mean, if you're gonna give it to somebody, sure, that it's a fit. But
yeah,
I don't think the point of Armored Core being on like overly difficult was necessarily a design choice as much as it was just bad design that led to the player being fucked by the game mechanics.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. They've I think they made them all. From Software has made all of the
Have
Armored
they
Core
really?
games.
Okay. I didn't realize
So
that.
yeah, so I think they have. So it's just like it's weird. I think people are bringing in the Soul stuff when they're just like, no, we're gonna make one
So
of
it's just
those
gonna be a
again.
super technical menu driven. And that's the thing is like it was so menu driven. I mean, I loved the Armored Core games, the original like couple entries, but like it was all about just concocting your winning combination. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't think I've ever played one.
I really, really like the first one on the
I
PlayStation.
don't.
And then I know there was one in the 360 that people absolutely love, or
Oh
maybe the
yeah,
PS2 era. Maybe that's I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe not 360. Well, there probably is a 360 one, but I think there was like a PS2 era one that was like highly regarded also. But I had fallen off by then, so
yeah. For whatever reason, mech stuff just never landed for me.
yeah, I kind of like some of that stuff.
Did you ever do the? Speaking of Kojima, those ones. What did he make? Oh, Zone of the Enders.
Mm-mm.
Those were like mech games that he did, right?
But yeah, they're like almost like weird pseudo shooter things too, right? Like, oh,
Yeah,
they
I
had
don't
like
know.
weird mechanics. Yeah, no, I never did. Didn't they figure like that first Only Enders sold so well because it was like that playable demo of Sons of Liberty? Like they pretty much like attributed to that.
Yep. We better make a sequel, and then it bombed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's not a bad year for the Game Awards. I still feel like that's not moving in the direction Keeley wants it to or thinks it is moving. I feel like it ticked less boxes this year than ever, right? Or am I crazy? Or maybe I just didn't care. Maybe I'm not the right person.
I feel like it did a lot more of the it was a lot more see-through on like kind of where the money's at,
Yeah.
where it's like Xbox gets 2 and 1 indie and,
Nintendo wasn't, super present either.
they had Xenoblade. That's about,
Yeah.
to be fair, that's pretty much all they had this year anyway.
Well, that's true. I saw a few tweets on Twitter from the devs and like people who went, industry people that were super excited to have traveled to that to come back with COVID. So seems
Oh,
like that was
wow.
also an award that everybody got
Cool.
handed out at the Game Awards. So Merry
Yep.
Christmas. Have fun coughing.
Wow. Yeah, that's the Game Awards. I sat through all 3 hours again for some reason.
Didn't we do like a live stream of that one time? Like when we were super ambitious, like many years ago?
Probably.
I swear we did one. We went voiced over it. Yeah, I was mildly interested, and then I think I ended up being on like PTO like the day after, like so I just was busy doing something else. But that's
Yep.
cool. And he'll be back for Summer Games Fest, so that's pretty great.
We'll see what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in new gaming news, probably less exciting than the Game Awards, I got one of those newfangled Evercade EXP handhelds in. That finally shipped after being delayed about a month and a half. So for those of you not familiar, Evercade has been a platform, I don't know, the last 3 years. And it's like an independent console, handheld. They also have a console version of the hardware that releases games mostly retro, mostly collection based, but always on cartridge. And I think the thing that I appreciate them for is that they've taken some notable indie games and given them physical releases where they haven't gotten them otherwise, um, which I think is pretty cool. But basically, what it amounts to is you get a retro focused console that's kind of like the games that are available for it are mostly arcade hardware, 90s, back to like, home consoles, back to the Atari. And the new version here, the EXP, comes with a little better screen, a little better battery, a little tweaked design, and then an option for a Tate mode or a Tate mode, however you want to say it,
Ooh.
or a Taint mode. Probably not that one. And that's why I bought it, because I thought that was cool. So you just press a button to switch it, kind of like you could with like the Lynx or the Wonder Swan. And retail is, at least in the US, $150, but it comes with 18 officially licensed Capcom games built in, kind of the stuff you'd expect. It's kind of all over the board, the 1933 or whatever series, like that sort of 43 series, 42, 43, and then like the other one, Captain Commando, Mega Man X, the first Mega Man, kind of a smattering of all the good stuff. And then you also got an IREM cartridge in it that has 6 IREM games. Probably most notably would be R-Type and God, I forget. There's another shooter on there that I've been playing. So not a bad value when you figure you're getting licensed games, legitimately licensed games to run on this thing. It now hooks up to Wi-Fi, so there's leaderboards and scores like that. I also found out
Cool.
that there's like secret codes you can punch in or button combinations to unlock 5 more games that are built in. Some
Wow.
NES homebrews, a couple Commodore games, roughly the size of Switch Lite.
Oh, the screen too.
A little smaller,
Okay.
but handheld wise, it's kind of how it feels. Got a couple shoulder buttons and then 4 face buttons. Feels good. Like how when you have like a cheap handheld, like I always go back to the Neo Geo X Gold. Like that thing weighed like 2 pennies. This thing has some substantial weight to it, so like it's built good, feels good. Um, Buttons are okay. It's got the weird like almost squishy D-pad thing where it's like the full circle but a little floppy. So not like the 4 points like I'd prefer. Um, but yeah, overall, like the packaging was really good. Everything runs really well. It does what's advertised. The Tate mode is probably the weakest point, which sucks because that's what I was most excited about. The buttons are very far to the bottom, so when you do that, unless you're gonna lay that thing
Oh,
on the edge of like a table or a pillow on your lap, really uncomfortable to just hold it in your hand. That my opinion. Might depend on if you got bigger hands, maybe I don't know, but
yeah, I could see that. That's so like the shooters, especially like
yeah,
Capcom, you definitely want that to
yep,
play it that way. So yeah, that's a
exactly.
bummer.
And that's what I was like most excited about was like I always hate when you're like playing like emulation or stuff in like 4x3 on like a full screen. So it's like, well, this is gonna be sweet because I love shooters and it does feel really good, but I wish it felt. I mean, it feels pretty good and like the feature's great and easy to use, but yeah, it doesn't feel like I had hoped it would. The weight imbalance is a little weird, but I guess it
Oh,
makes sense considering. I will say uh, it's nice the size because like I actually just bought like a Switch Lite case for it to go in because why pay like $30 for the custom one? Um, yeah, it's a really well built machine. I don't know that I'm gonna buy a ton of stuff for it. Like I'll probably buy collections here and there because I think the immediate question with the Evercade is, well, why? Why would you do that when you can emulate stuff on cheaper devices?
sure.
And that's a valid point. And I think like there's some merit to the fact that these are like actually licensed ROMs, which is nice. And I think that the fact that they're supporting some of the homebrew community and giving them physical releases is really cool. But beyond that, I'd say for the average person, just maybe just get a Switch Lite
Yeah.
because I mean this is a neat thing, but like there's not much of a point to it. I mean, other than it's just kind of cool that somebody's doing it.
I'll say like if you buy a cartridge, usually it has a decent selection. Like
Yeah,
most
usually six
most
to
of them
12
are
games.
collections, right?
Yeah,
It's not like you're buying one game.
yeah,
But that said, like you said, a lot of these even licensed collections are ones that like Capcom and IREM and Datasoft and or Data East and all these guys that are just kind of putting their stuff on everything anyway.
yeah,
Um, and the indie ones that do have their stuff, while really cool that they get their own, cartridge and everything, oftentimes those are the guys that are having a Steam sale for 99 cents or a buck 99 on
yes,
these games.
100%. And there's a few collections on here of like really lesser known publishers and like arcade people in different parts of the world, and those are cool. But yeah. And another thing I kind of found out and like looking to, because obviously the first thing I did was like, well, how can I exploit this? Like hack it. And it sounds like there's almost nothing super proprietary about the cartridges themselves. They apparently use the same pin out as a Game Boy, and
Mm.
internally they're just micro SD. And the system itself is like formatted to only read 512 um, megabytes, but apparently it's super simple to either cobble together your own SD cart loader from a Game Boy or vice versa. Just buy like a legit copy and cannibalize it
Oh,
for the
sure.
console. So those are all options that are clearly available. I'm not going to do either one of them because it's not the point or the reason I bought it.
Yeah.
And there's easier ways to do that. But I have to say, like, I thought it would feel a lot cheaper and shittier, but they've really done a good job of making something that feels substantial for the target market that they're going for. Like it's good. I can't say I feel gypped at 150 bucks considering the games that I got with it built in. It, it's fine even if I never buy anything else for it. Like it's just cool. I'll pop it out once in a while and play it. But yeah, I mean, you can buy an Atari collection for 30 bucks too. So there's
Yeah.
that.
That's yeah. It's cool that that's a thing and it's still trucking along. It's not like, they at least built it in a way where it's manageable. It's not like trying to do a billion different things like an Atari VCS, which
Right.
is way too expensive. Um, does it do you know if it even can run a 3D game?
I'm trying to think what I've seen in the library. I mean, theoretically, maybe depending on some of those arcade boards. I mean, because I suppose it's probably ultimately just running like a bastardized version of like a retro arc sort of thing, or
Yeah,
something adjacent. So I think you'd be pushing it. I mean, you might get some of that Neo Geo stuff where it was like pseudo 3D, but
sure.
yeah. I mean, it's got enough shoulder buttons that if it could, I mean, I that's a good question. I don't know what the internals are. I mean, I guess if it's an FPGA, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be
But
that'd be cool.
yeah.
Well, that's a pretty decent sales pitch. I heard you have about 400 of them to sell or something. You somehow
Yeah.
got a hold of a lot of these
Uh,
things that you're
a
trying to
truck
offload?
showed up at my house.
Oh, so you're doing like a truckload sale
I
of
don't know
some
how it
sort?
got there. It just showed up one day. It's weird. Bunch of black special edition consoles. Mine's white. I prefer the white, so I figure I'll get rid of these real
Yep,
cheap. Yeah. Tell your friends.
yep. I'll see.
Oh, yep. Uh, well, I'm going to do one final quick update here because we touched on it like, I don't know how many episodes. But I'm going to bring up Vampire Survivors again because it finally worked. It finally clicked
What?
with me. And
What?
I've been playing a fuck ton of Vampire
Oh
Survivors.
my gosh, what a heel turn.
Yeah, I'm still like, for as many hours as I put in, I don't know if like I'm missing something obvious in the gameplay loop. Well, so let me say I refuse to move to a new character or to the second level until I've reached a full 30 minutes in the first level. And I've played like many more hours now. I'm probably like 7 hours into the game, and I still have not managed to get to 30 minutes. And I don't know if like I'm missing something. There's something about like the 15-minute mark, like when like the giant horde of like skeletons comes in and there's nowhere to go, that like I don't know if I'm like panicking or if I'm just not like stacking stuff right that I can't quite get through. But yeah, I love that game now. Like I play it a lot, like pretty much every night, to be honest. Like it's real
Wow, what a
good.
turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I got back into it too again.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it's
Uh,
it finally got there with me. I think like once they started opening up and unlocking more of like the power-ups and stuff, and then like it's just like this is good. Like I
have
like this
you
grind, I like this loop.
have you got to one that you evolved one of the weapons yet?
Like to like multiple levels? Or does it
So
permanently change it or what?
yeah, if you get to level 9 on a weapon
Oh,
and have a course, each weapon corresponds to one of the support things,
okay.
items. If you have both of those and then get a treasure chest, it turns into a whole new weapon, and that's the super strong ones.
So I need to focus more on like a couple weapons and upgrading them instead of like just grabbing as many as I can, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I
Kinda?
mean, is usually if you can get to 20-25 minutes, a lot of times you end up
Okay.
maxing out a lot of the stuff anyway.
And I have not gotten there. I feel like I'm getting to the verge of like where I've got enough starting stats. It's just getting that like right lineup. Because sometimes I get a little cocky when I start hot. I'm like, oh, I got the nut sack, which is what I call garlic. I
Yeah.
got the nut sack. I got like the cross. I got the axe. Like I'll just take a bunch of damage because I'm like I don't care. Like I'm just leveling up fast, and then the game will be like, fuck you. You want a turkey? Good luck, because we're not giving you a turkey. And the game just screws you in the ass. But yeah, I love those good starts when you get like for me, it's all about the cross, those axes, and the nutsack. If I can get those three
Yep.
things right from the start, and you're just like sitting there like walking through bats, like oh, it's so satisfying.
Yeah, that garlic
So
with bats is
satisfying.
just like, yep, just
Yeah.
a billion.
Cheese grater.
Um, you're gonna love the second level. The
I
second level is
I
just
The second level, I
Just
don't understand the ebb and flow to. I've played it a couple times, and it's just like a constant dance of like back and forth and like
yeah,
enemy
you don't really
waves.
move. You don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't. You end up like not even getting anywhere in the whole map. You just stay in
Okay.
the same spot.
I thought I just really sucked. I was like, I'm not accomplishing anything, but yeah, I
Oh,
did like 3 runs in the second level. On my third run, I lucked into like I don't know what it is, like the fiery tofu block or whatever the fuck that thing is. And then that led me
yeah,
to
that
the
thing.
vacuum orb. So I leveled up like 4 levels because you can't get back and forth to this stuff. I
Yep.
was like, sweet, I'm on a run, and then I immediately died. But and then I went back to the first level because I was like, until I can get 30 minutes in the first level, I'm not gonna let myself progress. So
Yeah. Oh, it depends on who you're doing. The walking speed is such a huge difference in that game.
oh
Like
really?
some of them are really slow, and the faster the better,
Oh,
because
okay.
that really helps toward the end.
Okay.
If you really need to get away and get through things.
Okay. Well,
Um,
that's good to know because I haven't been putting a whole lot of stock into that.
yeah, but yeah, that might be one thing you want to look up is like what weapons you need to match up with what support things, because
Okay.
that's when you get all the weapons evolved, the screen basically looks like complete garbage. It's just like so much stuff going on.
Okay.
You can't
Yeah.
even tell what's going on.
I'll probably have to do that. That's probably where I'm getting choked up, is I probably need to evolve some of that stuff. So
Yep.
yeah.
I finally killed Death this
Nice.
week, so finally getting
Nice.
somewhere in there. There's new DLC for it too,
Yeah.
for $2. So I would recommend getting that. I picked it up. I haven't gotten too much into it yet because I'm trying to fill out all the achievements or whatever for the original stuff.
Can
But
I just point out something that's gonna be horrific for both of us?
what's that?
Is which company is gonna publish this in physical.
Hmm.
You already know.
I know.
I'm
Yeah,
not gonna do it.
I don't think I'm going to either
Don't
because
stand strong with me. We're not gonna do
I
it.
I feel like this game is going to be something that they're like 5 years from now. It's like, yeah, they just added another thing to it. It's just like
Yeah.
constant.
I love it. Like once it started going better, like I was like, yeah, I get it now. It's just it's really dumb, but it's
I
fun.
was play I was playing tonight and I just set my controller down for the last 5 minutes because nothing could touch me. And my wife was like, "How is this even fun? How do you even like this game?" I'm like, "Do you even see what's going on up there?
Yeah.
How's
Well,
that not fun? I'm
I
doing
was
that. I'm not doing anything, but I'm doing that."
I listened to that it was a couple weeks ago that Kegcast, and it was the same thing. Like Shipwreck was like, yeah, I put the controller down. I went to the bathroom and I did some stuff, and I came back like 15 minutes later. Nothing had changed. He's like, that's when I figured I was done with the game. He's like, I could unlock some more stuff, but if nothing can hurt you. Yeah, yeah, it's a cool loop. I The only thing I really hate about it is that plant like circle thing on the first level really bothers me. I mean, I figured out immediately like how to just cheese it now, but like it's so stupid,
Yeah.
just pointless.
Oh, the other huge tip
Yeah.
for your the power-ups that you spend your money on, go with the one that makes it harder.
Okay, I've done that.
Yeah, because that gives you more guys to shoot through it and ultimately more
Yeah.
gems, then.
Yeah, I do that one and I do the experience gain one because I figure that like gets me through levels faster to upgrade stuff.
Yep.
So that's what I try to stick with. Yeah. Sweet. It's such a stupid game, but it's fun. So yeah, full circle. We're back in on Vampire Survivors.
Yep.
How's Pokemon
Probably
going?
never have to. Oh man, I rolled credits on that game.
Finally.
Yeah.
And you got through that pretty fast then.
Yeah, I kind of tore through that game. It's a good game. I would say it's probably one of the better Pokemon games in the storyline. It just the
But it
the
just
way it looks
runs like dog
sometimes,
shit.
yeah, the way it runs is just awful. I If that's something that really bothers you, which I mean some of the stuff it does, it just constantly puts it in your face like, "Oh yeah, this game kind of sucks that way." But the rest of it, it's pretty good. Um this one actually has like a decent story in it. where a
Okay.
lot of them are just, like it's
It's
just
weird.
basic garbage stuff. Yeah. But there's actually some stakes to some people and, actually things happening in their lives. But there's no voice acting. So it's just like, just expressions on people's faces and stuff. And then it's like, well, that just kind of cuts you right in the kneecaps on that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. It's a lot of reading, I suppose, when there's a ton of because there's quite a bit of NPCs in this one, right? Like more than the
yep.
normal.
Yep. So the one nice part about this is they added a feature where uh the dialogue box of what the person is going to say, if it's something that's going to affect you or you're going to get an item or something, it's yellow.
Okay.
If it's not, it's just white. So you can just skip all those people. You don't have to talk to anybody.
So they clearly knew their audience at this point.
Yes. That's
Smart.
I wish RPGs would do that, where
That
it's
should be
like
an
if this
option to
is
just set it so like it doesn't even present the text unless it's gold. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah.
Cut the fat.
Yep.
How
I
many
mean,
hours did that take you then?
ooh, it's probably 25 hours, I would say. I got into that.
That
It's
seems
maybe on
short.
the maybe it's on the shorter side a little bit, which is kind of weird because it's an open world game and it's got like 3 different objectives basically that you all have to complete to get to the final thing, which is a whole thing in itself. But yeah, I recommend it. Hopefully they fix it, make it look better. I doubt it, but
Do you think there's a possibility that they release like a game of the year version of this game where it's not a broken piece of shit?
no,
Everything's patched in. No, you don't see that
no,
happening. No.
no. They're working on expansion right now. I'm sure of it. They're just like
Well, just
fuck
fix
that.
the game. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
We'll see. I don't think they'll fix it, but
Well, I'm glad that despite it being like a hobbled mess, you're still like raving about.
I think I'm almost done with it though. I don't think
Yeah.
this is the one where I'm gonna be like trying to collect as many as I can, and because I don't know. There's some of it seems impossible. There's a lot more like used to be just, hey, get them to this level and then they'll turn into something else. Now there's a whole bunch of other garbage. So
Hmm.
I'm not gonna deal with that.
Maybe they'll patch it and then have some sweet DLC to draw you back.
Mm, we'll see.
I'm kind of amazed you got through that already.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I've been playing, other than here and there Vampire Survivors. So that's why it's like, oh, I don't have a whole lot to say other than the games that I've already been talking about.
You've been playing Hello Neighbor too?
Oh
Or
yeah,
Hello
so
Neighbor also, not the sequel.
Hello
That got
Neighbor
announced, right?
2. Yeah, so it's on Game Pass now.
Okay.
Um, which have you ever played any of those?
I mean, I haven't, but from what I understood, it's just like a B level horror type game where you're trying not to get seen by your angry neighbor.
Yeah, but it's weird because it's an adventure game. Like like if the young kids that like are into this game, they probably don't even never played one of those old point and click adventure games.
Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, I thought it was just like a 3D open world thing.
It is a 3D open world, but it's basically like, oh, you need this to bring it in the house and do this puzzle, and it's getting items to use for other things and tools.
Okay.
Um, similar to an escape room, I would say too, but
Hmm.
um,
And then
it's
all while not being caught by your nosy neighbor,
right. You're basically intruding on his house. Um,
as kids should.
yeah,
Go into
and
strangers' homes.
he has a lot of weird puzzles going on in his house that I haven't quite figured out what the objective or what he's trying to hide, but someday I'll figure it out. That's the other thing is there's like no hand holding. It's just like, no, you just figure it out.
Hmm.
You got to experiment. There's nothing.
Sounds like a game we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Uh,
You know what I never understood with Hello Neighbor was like that was one of those games that like instantly had like the marketing blitz behind it, right? Like you went to
yeah,
Target and there was like action figures. It was like I didn't get it. Like, does it deserve it in any way, or like are the characters memorable? I don't understand.
yeah. That's isn't that weird how some games get like that? I
Hmm.
guess that one deserves maybe it has gotten popular, but there's been other ones where that what was it Bendy the Ink guy or something like that. That guy got a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like
Yeah,
that game was nothing. It flopped. Nobody cared about it. I thought, but
bizarre.
I don't know. It's weird how things get latched on like that. It must be like a YouTuber thing that somebody got that really popular.
Or Target was just like really desperate. They're like
Yeah.
games, they're hot now. Let's
What
get this
what do
Cuphead
kids
and
like?
Hello
Murderous
Neighbor merch.
neighbors.
Yeah. But then you have stuff like I think Among Us is an obvious one where it's like there should have been Among Us pins and like plushies at every Target, and there wasn't.
No, there's probably now, but
Yeah, I feel like now
too
they're
late.
just like only Mario and Minecraft. Like that's all we will carry.
No Sonic stuff. Keep the Sonic out of there.
He's
We
in
don't
the
want those
bottom
people
corner.
coming in.
Yeah. Fuck that riffraff.
Did you see that report that the toy industry basically is held up by 25% by adults buying toys for themselves?
The fact that it's only 25% is shockingly low to me. But yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for anyone who's raised kids this century, kids don't gravitate towards toys like we did. You know what I mean?
No.
They have them and like they're things that they use sparingly, but it's just like I don't know, they go for like the electronic devices or they're playing outside. Like my kids have almost no in between. It's weird.
Yeah, it's almost like they have I don't know if it almost feels like they have less time than we did because I played outside and I played electronic devices and I played toys. So it's like I don't know.
You know what it probably is, sadly, is like we're just more attentive parents because we were like latchkey kids who like, I mean, our parents did good jobs, but like we had a lot of time alone. So we're like, when I'm gonna have kids, we're gonna be best friends. We're gonna be playing board games, and we're just smothering our kids out of toys. I think
Yeah.
because we don't want to play with toys. We want to play video games with them or take them to the zoo. You know what I mean?
Yep. We don't want them to touch our toys.
No, yeah, that's yeah. The sealed wall of amiibo back here. You lay off. Yeah, I totally get that though. That's crazy.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, especially like something like Transformers. Like, would love to know the percentage of like kids that are really passionate themselves about Transformers and ask for Transformers and open them and play with them. It's probably like 10%
And
of the
and
total.
of those 9% only like that stuff because their dad is passionate about and explains
Right,
to them how cool Transformers are.
right.
So yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's just bizarre. Like I think about that a lot because like it's not like our kids don't have options. I'm sure your kids are just like mine, where it's like there's stuff in their room, there's piles of things, and they'll never just like go pick it up. Like I don't know what the deal is.
Yep.
My kid's
I,
more apt to come out and watch an episode of Seinfeld with me than he is to play with like Legos. It's weird. He's 9.
and it's even worse now because half the shit is like surprise eggs and things like that where they want that stuff and then they open it and they're like, "Oh, that was cool."
Yeah,
It's
that mini marketing bullshit. Like, what's up with like the
garbage.
tiny food thing?
Yeah.
How is that a toy? That's just advertising for small products. It's so stupid.
Yeah. That's my daughter's all into that stuff. And
Yeah, I heard that's like one of the big things this year is like those tiny kins or whatever the frick they're called.
yeah.
What is the brand? I forget. No, Tiny Kins is a
Uh,
game.
mini brands.
Yes, mini brands is what it is.
Yep.
Yes. Speaking of completely stupid, this is a perfect segue. So I came up with a brilliant idea for a game that I didn't really come up with, but the idea popped in my head and I found it so funny to myself that I thought we'd play it on this podcast. We don't have to do a lot of it. I just, as an example, thought I would have you play a round of this game. And it's called Would You Rather, except it's not actually Would You Rather. It kind of is, but every option involves one scenario with Dan Rather. So you have to choose. And I found this idea incredibly amusing to myself. So, like, I thought the ultimate thing, being Dan Rather as an older man, is one of the options should be: would you rather spoon feed him a plate of spaghetti and meatballs, knowing that that's going to be horrendous and take you at least an hour, or I don't know, live stream yourself masturbating? but you only have to do that once, where you have to spoon feed Dan Rather spaghetti every day until he's dead, or you're dead. Would you
Can I monetize my live stream though?
No.
Oh.
No. Only shame, no personal gain.
Okay. I mean, if it was a one-time thing, that would be an experience. That would be like that would be a life experience. That would be a story that you would come up constantly.
The internet is forever, though. It's a one-time thing that will never be forgotten. And is definitely recorded.
Yeah, I suppose. Probably the Dan Rather.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first.
I'd rather.
Yeah, we don't need to beat this dead horse. That idea came into my head, and I found it so amusing to myself that I just had to share it. So I thought he was dead, so I thought it was gonna be like way better, but he's still alive. I don't know how him being dead makes it better, but I'm
can't really do anything with anybody else's name though. No. Just trying to run him down. Would you spoonie with Andy Rooney?
Yeah. Just fits so well. Well, one thing I thought we could touch on, being it is like the end of the year. This will be our last episode in 2022. Do you have a game of the year? Like, are there contenders? What do you think it would like? Because I'll be honest, I had a tough time thinking about it because I haven't played too many games this year. But
that's kind of. Should we just go into our random recommendation? Because that's kind of what mine is. It's just kind of.
They're staff picks. They're not random recommendations. That's R3 podcast. What are you doing, Andy?
This is a bit.
This is not. This is a train wreck. Yes, let's go into staff picks. Wink, wink. Yes.
Randomly.
R3 podcast. Check them out wherever podcasts are available.
Yes.
So yes. What are some of your highlights?
I just kind of went through like some of the games that I played this year. Okay. The ones that kind of stuck out to me was Immortality. My wife played Dreamlight Valley. I'm still pretty impressed with that. She's still doing that.
Was Immortality that weird like video game? Like
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The one with boobies.
Important.
Yep. Fortnite got me hooked a little bit this year.
Well, you have to discard that because it's like 5 years old.
Yeah, I guess. Hard Space Shipbreakers, great game. I recommend that one. It's kind of relaxing in the same way that Vampire Survivors is, except you can really fuck yourself if you're not paying attention. Mm-hmm. But TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, that was a blast this year. Tunic, I had a lot of fun with at the beginning, and I never finished it because I don't know.
I heard the end game is where it falls apart on that, from what I've heard from people.
Yeah, I don't even know if I got to that part. I probably got maybe halfway on the map. And like the secret stuff is cool from the manuals and all that. It just I don't know why I lost steam on it. But Vampire Survivors, obviously we talked about that.
Yep.
Marvel Snap, I've kind of dropped off that, but it was a good couple weeks or a month or whatever. Pokemon, obviously, and Tinykin, I think, was a blast too.
Tinykin was cool.
I'm so glad that you recommended that, because I probably wouldn't have hopped in there if you went to said, "Oh, this is awesome."
Yeah, Tinykin's a really cool game. Yeah, I'd throw Grounded in there too, just because like I know it went like full published, went gold this year, and I'm having fun with that. I saw you had Guardians of the Galaxy on there too, which
That
I
was
sunk.
last year, but
Was
I
it
did
last
finish
year?
it this year.
Okay, yeah. I sunk quite a bit of time into that. I never did go back.
Yeah, I somehow kept going back to that. I would drop it for a month and go back. It was it was you could do it. Like, it's
Yeah.
not a game that you kinda lose everything on it, so it was
Well,
a
except the
good time.
studio, I heard lost everything on it because I think that tanked them.
That's true. It's a good
I
game, though.
I liked the story. I hated the gameplay. That was kind of my problem with it.
Yeah, so the hmm. You could probably expect that, the
Yeah.
deeper you get into the game, the more, intricate and more
More
stretched
quick
out
time
those battles
events.
are.
Ugh,
Yeah.
yeah. I can safely say that's why. Not that neither one of us played it, but I can safely say that's why God of War Ragnarok would not appear on this list either. Because again, I love the story of what those new God of War games have done, but I hate the gameplay,
Mhm.
and I can't imagine Ragnarok did anything to change my perspective on that. So it's funny because, like you mentioned, I think the only game on here that I've completed this year, and that was a full run through Shredder's Revenge with you. So
Yeah.
I played a lot of other games. I don't think I beat much of anything.
Yeah, even a
Uh,
lot of these I didn't beat.
was the Kirby game this year?
Yeah, that was a good game
That
too.
was a really good Kirby game. Not my
Yes.
game of the year, but that's a fantastic Kirby game. I love what they did there. The kids
Yeah,
had a
I forgot
blast with
about
it.
that one.
I didn't get to finish it because I was having so much fun playing with my son. I was like, my daughter's gonna love this, so I kind of let them just take over after the first like third. And
Yep.
I didn't see most of the end. I should really go back and just play through it on my own.
Yeah, my son, he got it for his birthday, and he ended up going through most of it himself, so
Yeah.
and then, my wife played it a little bit too, but I played it sparingly. But from what I played, it was pretty good.
What about we're forgetting Pressure Washer Simulator?
Oh, man.
It's got to be on
Wow.
there, right?
What a game. What a masterpiece.
Watching paint dry the game.
Pushing games forward as a medium.
Paparazzi, fantastic game.
Uh,
I'm trying to think like if there's anything else that was like notable for me. Such a weird year for games. I mean, I think Elden Ring obviously is the big one that I don't think either of us are remotely into. So
holy shit, we are old people now. I think that's what it is. Like, the games that I'm gravitating towards is Power Wash Simulator, where it's just like do do shit at your own time. Nothing's gonna
yeah,
happen.
no,
Vampire Survivors is very much like that, where it's just kind of like, yeah, there's some
100%.
hecticness, but after a while, you're just kind of
I'm yeah
coasting.
grounded. I'm just like I'll just sit here and build a fort for an hour and a half.
Yeah, Hard Space Shipbreakers, same thing. Yeah, it's a lot of this stuff. Tinykin is basically a breeze to just kind of collect things.
Yep, I think that's the reason I haven't started High on Life either. I installed it and then like every time I look at it on my dashboard, I'm like I gotta learn new mechanics and sit through like an intro. I'm like, I could just play Vampire Survivors. It's right there. And then I do that. So yeah. So I think that means our game of the year collectively is Vampire Survivors, right? There's no
Oh yeah,
question on
definitely.
that. Okay.
It's got to be the first game in history that was like basically a free game. It's like
Yeah.
$3 or
It
whatever.
stole assets from another property and yet hasn't been sued to oblivion. So yet. Yeah. I like how that's like been this evolving story arc too over like 4 episodes of us talking about that thing. I'm like, I don't get it. Greatest game ever. It's like my dick accidentally went off, and I was like, "Oh, it was fine, I guess." But then I had sex. I'm like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
this penis thing's pretty great."
It's kind of one of those things where you almost enjoy how it's making you feel more than it is like the gameplay itself,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I also love the fact that like I can just be like looking at other things. I can have my phone out, and I'm just like running around with one stick, and
Yep.
it's great. It's like the greatest half present game experience ever, and like super rewarding at the end of it too. Like you're not even fully invested, and you're still just addicted.
Yep.
It's good. It's a good gameplay loop. I mean, I'm sure I'll get bored of it eventually. Like you hit a wall, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. It's a good game.
Yep.
I'm surprised that made my list, but I think ultimately it's just the fact that I just didn't play much this year. Nothing new anyway. So
yeah, I was trying to think of like all the Nintendo stuff, and I'm like, I bought 2 Pokemon games this year.
Did you beat Arceus?
I didn't. Okay. I got a little bit into it, and then I fell off of it. But
so do you think this new one is the new 2 are better than Arceus? Or is Arceus still the better?
I think the new one is better in regards to like the structure, like an evolution of the structure that it was. Arceus kind of turned it into more of a
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, a little bit more Breath of the Wild, a lot more of just like catching things constantly as a research thing, you know, not necessarily battling or becoming a champion or, you know, something like that. But yeah, I can't think of another Nintendo game that I bought this year. Kirby.
I just bought Game Builder Garage, but that's because it was on clearance for
$2.
And then I got some RPG for $9 too. Crystals.
Huh.
I don't know. Supposedly it goes for $40 online.
Nice.
I'll never play it, but I have it. Yeah, there wasn't much. I mean, yeah, the only notable thing to me Nintendo wise was, well, I guess there was that Kirby like buffet game, Dream Buffet. I wouldn't put that up there though.
If I was 16 again, I'd probably be all about Xenoblade Chronicles, but
yeah, I'm surprised you didn't buy that at all.
No, I can't, like, I just know at this point that
you don't have the hours in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Interesting. Well, there we go. I mean, quick game of the year, Vampire Survivors.
The one game that it's just barely a game.
It's game enough for us.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into our weekend rental. If you're new to the podcast, what the weekend rental is a game we pick for any given system. This time we're talking about the Game Gear, and we are going to discuss Tales Adventure. We play the game, we kind of formulate our opinions, and then decide if we would buy, rent, or burn that game ultimately. And the one we chose to dive into this episode, like we said, is Tales Adventure, and it's a pretty late release for the Game Gear, right? Like 95 was that thing was old news. Strong in the visual department, audio is good. Characters you know and love, big sprites, which the Game Gear was pretty good at, and a weird overworld map that's sort of reminiscent of Super Mario World or Donkey Kong Country, I think is probably what they were trying to go for.
Yeah. Yep.
And you'd think, hey, this will be a fun little platforming adventure with the buddy of Sonic. And then
what weapon do you think off the bat? What's Tails known for his weapons?
I mean, typically,
he's got a lot of gadgets and stuff. He could probably make some cool gun.
I would say everyone knows he's most known for the bombs that he throws constantly.
Bombs?
Yeah, the ones that he uses.
I'm not familiar with the bombs.
No, he follows Sonic around and bombs all the enemies. You didn't notice this?
No.
Yeah, he's basically Wario with 2 tails. Everyone knows that. And therein lies the problem with Tails Adventure is not only does he have bombs, but he has 40,000 other fucking power-ups that you have to try and manage in these convoluted Metroidvania maze-like levels. And it doesn't do much to ease you into that. It kind of throws an introductory level at you, and then the next one immediately leads to a dead end. And then it just kind of goes off the rails from there as to what the game expects you to just learn through trial and error.
Yeah, a lot of the levels, once you get further in, a lot of the levels are very maze-like. Um, they go horizontal, vertical, every which way in all your favorite, just like all your favorite Sonic levels do.
Yeah, that's the
You know,
best.
those are the worst ones.
Gotta
But
go up, down, left, right.
yeah,
That's what
and
Sonic always says.
that that gets a little confusing. And then the hard part is to me is there's times where you obviously need a power up to get to a certain spot, and then it's tough to know, is that the exit or is that a bonus? Is it what is that? Um there was one level where I got to the end, the screen stops scrolling, and there was a wall that you could bomb, so I hit the bombs and I walked and it just I fell off the edge and it didn't make any sound, it didn't do anything. So I'm like, okay, that must have been, it did the same thing as if you would have went off the screen to the next level type thing.
Yeah.
Well, it just bumped me out to the the level select. So I'm like, okay, I must have beat it. Where's the next level? Nope. I
No.
must have died. I had no idea.
Oh my god.
That
Except you
was
didn't die, because if you died, you'd immediately get game over.
yeah,
Because
right,
this game hates you.
right. Well, see, maybe I didn't then. I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't. You just like found an alternative. You crawled out of a hole in the side of the level. You're
Yeah,
like, hey,
and
you
they're
made it to
just
the
like,
map.
well, we didn't account for this. I guess we better just put you back where you were.
Yes. No lives is a key factor in this game. In a
Yes,
portable platforming game, they gave you no lives and no just direct continues from where you were at. There's a convoluted, it seems like,
the password
password
system.
system, but come on, for what they're trying to pull off here, this is something that you would have played for like 30 minutes at a go with your Game Gear on dying like Rayovac batteries. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing we have to judge separate. Like the Game Gear as itself, like it's this game on a Game Gear, like the Game Gear limps it pretty hard, you know. Um,
Yeah, just
but
the
playing
design
this,
of it overall, knowing it's on a platform or a portable platform, in especially the portable platform it was on, I think is just like it makes the design choices that much more egregious. Like if this was a
yeah,
console game with battery backup, this I would have a completely different opinion. Or even if the
mhm.
cartridge had a battery backup, but it does not, and
I
they made
I mean,
mistakes.
if this was an NES game with a different character and a little bit better level design,
Yeah,
this would be one of those hidden gems, you know.
if it had a battery backup,
Yeah, yeah, that is a very important part of this.
because that's
And
what
that's
separates the Metroid twos from the Tails Adventure. I think is a
yeah,
battery backup.
and that's what really screwed me over on this game. I was moseying along in this game, and eventually you get a sub with a drill on the front, and you can like shoot. It's basically shooter levels at that point,
Mhm.
um, which is cool. It's not. I mean, it's a water level, so
Except,
it's kind of a water maze. It's
can
kind of
we talk about how you have to figure out how to get there though? In that you have to like go back to Tails's house and then
and then
somehow
go to the
know to
dock.
pick to the dock and then somehow know to
Yeah,
equip the item, and there's a
yeah,
lot of layers of bullshit to get to the sub level.
yeah. I had to do a double take on that because I was trying to figure out because it shows you. You're like, oh look, you got this thing, and then you're like, okay, how do I use it? But
Right.
yeah, you go to the back to his house where you equip different weapons, which you get a lot of these different weapons, and you can only equip 4 of them, and it's really tough to know without playing the levels, like, which ones you should bring, because some of them, you need certain things to get to certain spots.
Yeah.
There's a couple levels where I don't think you could progress without a certain thing.
Right.
Um, in fact, that's what screwed me over is the there's a level after the water level where you climb up kind of a waterfall, and one of the jumps is just too high. So I need some sort of power up to get above that. And there's no other way to get out of there other than dying. Game over.
Or traversing your way all the way back to the beginning of the level and walking out, which is another bullshit design feature.
Oh, you could do
You
that.
can
Oh,
always walk
okay,
back out of a level.
okay.
But I
I
think
should have
that
done that.
sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks as a feature.
Yeah.
I know they're trying to make it seem like this big open adventure or like, but it's just like they don't explain they don't explain anything. I mean, granted, there's probably an instruction manual with this, but like the fact that it's built into the game to have to like go into and out of a level is dumb.
Yep. Yeah, as soon as I had that, and then I didn't write, have any passwords or anything. So I'm like, whatever, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I, it's not, it's too much of a mix between different things. It doesn't go hard enough one way or the other. It's got some Metroid stuff in there, obviously power ups to get to certain spots and get different power ups for other things. But a lot of it is used almost like a Mega Man game where it's like, oh yeah, there's this power up if you have this, this ability to get over to it, if you want to use one of your ability bars to get over to that power up, you can use it. And I feel like that's what a lot of this game is it's more on that spectrum than it is more on the Metroid side. And I think they wanted to be more on the Metroid side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think a lot of it just boils down to like poor choices for the portable format that they built it for. Like there aren't enough colors or texture variations to really make paths or what's breakable clear, given the limited colors available on any one screen. And it's just too ambitious for grab and go gameplay. Like they would have been so much better off to just either make it more of a puzzler, like a 1 or 2 screen puzzler type game, or just go with a simple platformer. You know what I mean? Like they could have just done that, and instead they just kind of turned it into a muddied mess. And you can tell there's a ton of ambition there. It's just too much with too little explanation on the wrong platform. You know, I just really kind of grew to dislike the game the more I played it, and then when I watched some let's plays of it, and then watched the whole way through, I was like, "There's how would anyone have known?" Like, so we kind of gave shit to Star Tropics and like the fact that you'd have to have that letter to know like the code, right? But I feel like every 5 minutes in this game is essentially something as abstract as that. Sure, you're not going to need a letter to like punch in a coordinate, but you're gonna have to pull something out of your ass, and there's like 20 of those. I don't see how anyone beat this back in the day.
Really? So I didn't get too many that were like that bad. There were a few things that I'm like, I don't think I have the right thing for this.
Yeah,
But overall, I found some areas where like, yeah, I bet they want me to use this power up to, to bomb this place over here or use a
sure.
robot to go up and around and
I just think like the multiple revisits to old levels, especially like the sub levels, and like having to go through like the 4 different paths or whatever it is.
yeah.
It's just like how many people were thinking of that at the time, and maybe I'm just like too far removed from old school gameplay to like think like that. But I don't know, it just got more and more irritating. It was like just too obtuse to be fun. It almost seemed like.
Yeah.
And then the bosses are all just like super cheese fest. Like as long as you get there with a decent amount of health, you're in no danger. So what's the
Yeah.
point of having a boss?
Yeah, it's an easy game overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Let's Play like World of Long Plays or whatever. It's like a hour and 14 minutes, but obviously he knows exactly what to do too. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
I like that how ambitious they were trying to be. Like, I mean, if you were
Sure.
gonna be like, let's make a like I feel like if somebody pitched a Tails game, I feel like you're just like shitting out another game because it's like, well, we can't do another Sonic game, so let's you know?
So you bring up a point. Do you think this started as something else? And then they're
Yeah,
like, we
could
could
be.
sell more copies if we slap Sonic or Tails on it.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
The
I guess
level
there's a lot of
design,
level design about Tails
it fits his
flying.
flying a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that feels pretty good, you know?
See, and I had a hard time with it. Like the double tap, like I don't know if it's just because like the, the way they mapped it, it wasn't like super responsive, but I guess I got the hang of it the more I played. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, you definitely need a lot of headroom to start flying.
Yeah.
That was a problem, but after you're going, it feels pretty good to just be like, see ya, suckers. You know, you can just fly right over people, and that always feels good. And
Yeah.
you know, in a Mario flying way, fly over the level type thing.
I never got far enough in the game to like have a ton of flying power. Like you're so limited when you first start, but
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, you end up with quite a bit where you can just kind of do whatever you want.
yeah.
But
It's a visual
yeah,
powerhouse though. I mean,
yeah,
it looks great for the
yeah,
limitations.
yeah. This never came out on Master System. I'm
I
guessing,
don't
right?
think so. Yeah.
Not for how late it was.
Yeah. I it would have been a good fit for that, but you know. I feel like this was during the era where they had like repackaged the Game Gear and were like selling it back in Toys R Us again, you know, and
Yeah,
they're like, ah, we'll throw out one more game.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my experience with the Game Gear was Perkins.
No way, you actually got one? I never
No.
got to play it because I
Oh
never
yeah.
had
So
them.
yeah, Perkins used to have them that you could play them whenever you went there.
Yeah, that and the Game Boy. I remember that was like a big thing, but like,
Yep.
yeah, I never got to do that. At least not with a Game Gear. And I always had my own Game Boy. So, what did you play at Perkins on your crusty Perkins?
It was Sonic 2 or whatever. It's not that's not a great game. I
No.
even when I was a kid, like I was like, you know, I had a friend who had one and he was really excited about the color. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, color and everything. But
Yeah,
I don't know,
this
the
is a
screen was just not great. Like
no.
everything was just not just didn't look all that
And then
sharp.
those Sonic games, like when you're immediately like running into walls and like this is not what
Yeah.
Sonic does. This is dumb.
Yep. And then all my experience since then is getting Game Gears that have washed out colors where they
Yeah,
look horrendously
capacitors.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the battery area is just all acid washed and yeah.
Mhm. It
Poor Game Gear.
it's a very overlooked console. Sad that it got destroyed by the Game Boy of all things.
And Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, what do you give that then on the Byron Burn scale? I mean, what do you think?
I think it's a rent. I think it's interesting for how ambitious they did. I like some of the power-ups that they have in there. Especially some of the power-ups where it's just like the other guy's abilities where here's Sonic's and here's Knuckles punching and here's stuff like that. It's just kind of cool in that regard to just have Tails. And it's
Yeah.
just cool to have Tails have his own game. That's just hasn't happened since.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I am gonna be super mean on this one and just burn it. It probably deserves a rent, but I really hated it pretty much as soon as I started progressing in it. And when I watched like how much just dumb bullshit you'd have to figure out, it's like, nah.
Yeah, see, maybe I need to see that stuff because I what I went through wasn't too bad. Some of the, but how it ended, I was really upset about.
Yeah.
Um, but if there's a whole lot of other shit where it's just like, oh, you got to fly over here where you'd never even think to go, and
Yeah, and just like weird secret paths where you have to like bust the perfect block at the perfect dead end to like drive your robot through an invisible channel that pops out like four screens behind you. And
oh, geez,
I just no. Like
okay,
I mean there's value in all that, but not anymore. I don't have the patience for that. So
yeah,
I mean I it does a lot of great stuff. It's just not a game I want to play. Like even remotely. Like I'll never revisit this. So I'm good. I saw it. It's better than most of the Sonic games in the Game Gear. I like the Sonic Chaos one that was built specifically for.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty weird but good ish. Great.
It's funny. The best one is the Neo Geo one, but
That is a good handheld game, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the two like the pseudo, which that transitioned well into the whole Sonic Advance line, which those games are really good too.
Yep.
Probably the best Sonic games out of that whole era up until we got Mania.
Can't forget Sonic 3D Blast on the Game.com though.
I mean, yeah.
Sonic Jam or
You
what?
can't forget the Game.com either. And the amazing port of RE2 on that thing.
Yeah. There was another big game that they were supposedly going to make for that thing. Forget what it was. It was mind bending that they were gonna. I'm sure it was just going to be nothing like it, But
I got really hyped up on that thing when they were like showing previews for it as a kid. Even though like I knew like watching that it was gonna be bad, but I was still like, nah, it's cool.
Yep. I talked myself into thinking it was cool because of the whole PDA stuff on it, but really, what does a 12-year-old really need with a calendar?
I mean, you think you'd want lots of public displays of affection as a 12-year-old, right? So
oh yeah,
get all the girls. Yeah. That is the one console I'm glad I didn't shell out for. When I had the opportunity to buy that collection at that one game swap we went to. I don't know what I was thinking. Most of it was sealed. I would have opened it all. It would have been bad. But well, I think that's an episode. I guess take a moment and just this episode's coming out around the holidays or right on the holidays or just before. So Merry Christmas to everyone or Happy Holidays, everyone who's listening. We appreciate it. We know the show's gone through some changes. Merry Christmas, Andy. Hope you and the family have a good one. And yeah, I'm having fun. I know the show format is different, but I don't know. It feels a little less chaotic and stressful. I'll be honest. Mm-hmm. So it's been nice. It's awesome for everyone.
I for one like to. I for one enjoy like having one game.
Yes.
To actually spend a decent amount of time with.
Yes, even if it is terrible stuff like Tales. So it's been going well, and hopefully everyone's enjoying the changes. And yeah, have a good holiday season. And I don't know.
We'll see you next year.
Yes, and now you got to do the takeout thing with like the links and the where to find us and the.
Yeah. So, what do we want to hear in emails this week? What your game of the year is? I'll say game of the year. I'd like to get suggestions, maybe. You can send those to weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us. Maybe we'll put a poll up, decide if we should kick ourselves off of Twitter or not.
Yeah. If anyone's got any ideas on like how to get us to stop referring to staff picks as random recommendations, also that would be helpful. I don't know if like waterboarding ourselves would help or.
Yeah.
Or do we just full on commit and just steal the whole bit?
Or just recommend something just, randomly out of the blue.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a bit now. So
keep it going.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll
get t-shirts made up.
just etched out, crossed off. And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much all we got. So we'll see you next year. Be kind, rewind.
Dan Rather. Such a stupid idea.